Hey YouTube, welcome back to the Guitar Slinger Hockey Channel. I've got a bit of a tongue-in-cheek review today for you on whether or not your hockey gear sucks. And on the right, we have a pile of pro stock hockey equipment. On the left, we have a pile of top-end or close to it retail hockey equipment. And then over here, we have a dog. So let's get into it. Okay, so to start off this video, I think it's pretty important to kind of tell why I'm making this video. And geez, where are all these animals coming from? Sorry about that distraction. So what I'm hearing in locker rooms is that people's gear are falling apart what they perceive to be prematurely. And they're making comments like, you know, I went to the store, I did my homework, I did a review and found out that such and such brand and model is the top of the line piece of gear that's out for the current time, or last season it was the top of the line stuff. And what's happening is that we're seeing degradation of the equipment happen pretty quick. And so my thought process on this, having used pretty much all of the top end equipment that would actually fit me, and also being issued stuff in school and just buying my own random pro stock equipment and retail equipment. Sorry about that. What I was trying to say before I was so rudely interrupted by the Greater Swiss Mountain Dog here was that the durability on retail equipment is not as good as we would like it to be. And I think the main reason for that is manufacturers are trying to go for the lightest equipment possible while offering some protection, but it's not to the level of the pro stock equipment. And so the comments that I'm hearing a lot, and they're understandable if you're not really familiar with it, are that, you know, I don't even know what pro stock equipment is. I don't know how to find it. It's probably bulky and heavy, and, you know, it's just not readily available. It's probably expensive, or I just don't know where to get it. So in this video today, I'm going to go over some differences between the retail equipment and also the pro stock equipment, where to find everything. And you might also be a little bit surprised to hear some of the pricing on this stuff. So let's get into that now. So let's start off with our shin pads. So on the left here, these are a pair of my wife's Ultra-Tacs, and these were the top end model pads back in the day when they came out. This is actually still a pad that I see occasionally used in the NHL, but it's not this variant. It's a pro stock variant of the Ultra-Tacs. And this is this is probably one of the best retail shin pads that you can buy. You know, now it would be the AS5 Pro, if you're into more protection but, you know, taking a little bit more bulk. On the right side here, we have an actual pro stock set of RBK 5Ks, and these are from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then you can see the difference on the liners. So we have a removable liner with a lot of padding in here compared to what we have, whoops, sorry about that, what we have on the Ultra-Tacs. We also have on the Ultra-Tacs a pretty decent slash guard on here, but it's nothing in comparison to the removable and adjustable one. So you can move this up and down or take it off completely, buy larger ones, buy smaller ones that are coming on the RBK. And so when we talk about this first example of these pads, what I might hear is like, yeah, that's great, that the RBKs have more protection in them, but, you know, where on earth would I even find those? And how do I know what to get and all that good stuff? So what I would say about these, if this is something that you're really concerned about, so first of all, the weight on these pads is negligible. In fact, I would say the Ultra-Tacs are a heavier pad. So when you're thinking about this has significantly more protection, and not only the shell, but also the knee pad protection here. And here's the funny thing. When these Ultra-Tacs came out, we have, I don't know why my wife still has a sticker on here, but I think that was about $50 Canadian, if I'm not mistaken, because we got it up in the Source for Sports. If I'm not mistaken, it's kind of worn off there. She thinks that's her good luck patch there. Anyways, so these shin pads right here were about $40 used on Sideline Swap. Now, first of all, if you're against used equipment, then you might have a problem with this video, but you also can wash all this stuff. And if you don't wash your gear, then you're probably a hockey player from the 90s, letting it sunbake in your back of your 82 beige Dodge Omni overnight between games. But the price on these, this is a better pad. It fits the contours of your leg better than the retail one, and it's much cheaper. And you can still find these on Sideline Swap and eBay for very reasonable prices. Now, they do have some models that are extremely expensive, probably pushing $300, $350, coming brand new from Sweden or someplace like that. And you don't need to do that. They're all the same pads. The one thing that I would mention to you about shin pads, if you're really interested in here, so I'm currently using a 14-inch shin pad, and I wear my tongues under my shin pad. And so in the retail market, I wear a 15-inch shin pad. Pro stock shin pads are kind of in half sizes. So this is actually like fitting a 14.5-inch shin pad if you were in the retail size. So I went down from a 15 to a 14 to kind of bridge that gap. So that's something to know. If you're wearing 16-inch shin pads in retail, you could do 15-inch in pro stock. And, same here for me. I do 15 in retail and 14 in pro stock. That's the only thing you really need to take into consideration. Okay, so let's get into elbow pads next. All right, so on the left here, we have a pair of Easton elbow pads that truthfully they don't make anymore. Yeah, understand that. But they are pretty similar to kind of a intermediate level price point with regard to protection, for stuff that's out there today. This might be like an intermediate level version of some line of the SuperTax AS5 Pro, somewhere in there. Kind of fits like that. On the right side, we have a pair of Reebok 10Ks, and these are pro stock. And so what we should know that's a little bit different about the sizing on these is that sometimes in the pro stock market, you'll actually see either a size, which is easy to decipher like this, where it just says large, but sometimes you might see a 4, 5, or 6, something like that. And a 6 would be a size large in the pro stock world. But looking at the differences here, we have a extremely rigid pad here with forearm slash. We have neoprene in the elbow cap. We have very nice bicep protection. And on the left side here, we have a very squishy pad here that doesn't offer a lot of rigidity for impacts. And so what I wanted to tell you the difference on, I think when we got this, again, this is my wife's pad here, and my goal isn't to go poo-poo on my wife's hockey equipment, but it does serve as a pretty good example here. This pad, I think, cost us about $40 or so, and we bought this new. And this elbow pad, I recently purchased for $25 used. So that's another pad that's significantly cheaper. And these are readily available on eBay or Sideline Swap. In fact, I got these on Sideline Swap too. So again, if you're against buying used equipment, I definitely understand that, especially since we had the pandemic. But spray Windex on it and you'll be safe. Just kidding, don't do that. Okay, so let's get into the next part here with talking about gloves. Okay, so on the left here, we have a retail pair of CCM 4Roll Pro gloves. I love these gloves. These are really one of my favorite, if not my favorite, retail glove that's out there. Very nice, good fitting glove here for most types of hand. And on the right, we have a pro stock pair of Bauer Nexus Pro 4 rolls. These are from Sioux Falls, USHL team, and both in the size 14. So what I will say about this kind of is, obviously going to be a little bit of a fit here in gloves. So we have to take into consideration what type of glove you want. I have a pretty wide hand across this direction, so I like the 4-roll fit, and you may not, but you can apply this rationale to any set of gloves that you want to get. So on the left side here, I want to say that these were about $120 when I got them new several years ago, and they've been a pretty good glove, but you do have to patch them back up in the palms of the left hand. Since I shoot right, so it's usually the butt end that kind of wears a hole right here. But you have to patch that up, on occasion when it starts to wear out. But it's a good glove for what it is. On this other side here, not only do we have a lot more protection, the palms are much nicer. And this glove, again, used $30, sideline swap. And you can get these in different variants and all that good stuff. They are going to still be a very wide fitting glove. And by the way, the condition of both of these gloves is actually pretty similar. So I could have just got these used for saved a whole bunch of money and got a higher quality glove with more durability built into it, and still got that kind of wider traditional fit that I like. And again, do this with Warrior gloves, do it with Bauer gloves, whatever. They're going to just hold up longer and just be a better fit for less money. So just a matter of you picking out which type of fit that you prefer. All right, so now let's get into helmets, where we're going to change it up a bit. All right, so on the left, we have a Bauer React 150, and you can kind of see the interior on it for protection. And then on the right, we have my old helmet from school, which is just an old school Bauer 4500, the concussion special, right? And this, I don't know if it's technically a pro stock, but this is exactly what you would see used in the NHL. Same foam, which doesn't really do anything, but it's a comfortable, light-fitting helmet if it fits you. So this is where we're going to deviate a little bit here. So this is a category where I would say below the money on a retail high-end helmet. Your concussion record will thank you for it. The retail helmets just are better. That's simple, plain and simple with regard to the protection that it's going to give you. There was a study done a while ago about which helmets protected you the most from concussions, and the Bauer React series provided a lot of protection for a hockey helmet. Now keep in mind, all hockey helmets suck, but there are some that perform a little bit better than others. This is definitely going to be a million times better than a Bauer 4500. You can just even tell by the types of hard foams that are in here. So this is something that I would recommend. Just go out and get you the right thing and spend the extra money on it. I want to say that this was probably $160 to $200, somewhere in that price point at the time of purchase. So that is something that is different. Go retail on your helmets for sure. They seem to hold up fine, and they'll protect your head better than anything else. All right, let's get into shoulder pads. So one disclaimer about this pad, since it is my wife's shoulder pad, it is a women's chest protector on here. So, obviously a little bit of an anatomy difference here, but the composition of the pad is reflective of the Bauer Supreme 150 at the time of release. And so this is a very comfortable, lightweight pad. She likes them a lot. From a protection standpoint, it's better than a Sherwood 50/30 for sure. It's got a little bit of sternum protection in here. The shoulder caps are somewhat reasonable for protection. I mean, they're totally worthwhile beer league protection. Tricep guards also have good protection. There is no adjustment in there, and the stitching in there is pretty low quality. But these have held up for the most part for her. And, you can see that the strapping system is still in decent condition. This is usually not the case for pads that are this old. The guys that I know that are playing, rec hockey league are burning through these straps, and they're just like down to one strap, or they're having to sew them back together. And my wife plays a couple of times a week also, so you can kind of see that there's reasonable amount of damage, but nothing too big. Very lightweight though, and the liner is just kind of like, I don't know, it's just foam. Whatever. It's not moisture wicking, it's nothing special. But anyways, that's what a pair of retail pads looks like for her. And I would say this is a reflection for all you guys too, from a standpoint of buying like an intermediate level shoulder pad from your local hockey shop for adult rec league. I want to say, if I remember correctly, these shoulder pads were about $50 or $60, somewhere in that, when we bought them new. So let's show you what you can get for about that same price. All right, so here is kind of a combo deal pad. It's a Jofa shoulder pad, specifically the 6K. However, it has the Reebok RBK shoulder caps from a different line of pads. And this is something that you see pretty common. You may see some that have Jofa shoulder caps or the RBK shoulder caps, or ones that say Reebok on it. There's just slightly different shapes and sizes that they do at the pro level. And this pad was $60. Again, it was used. Again, it was sideline swap. This pad is definitely heavier than a comparably priced shoulder pad that you're going to go buy at the retail level. However, the fit on these shoulder pads is much, much better. It fits closer to your body. It really wraps you. There's no interferences. We also have the ability to have adjustments too, if you want to adjust the length of your tricep guards to move them up, move them down, to fit seamlessly with your elbow pads. You can also add on additional protection if you're playing in a body checking classification, if you're still a youth player. You have rock solid sternum protector. You have all the protection that you'll need in the shoulder area with very rigid plastic in here. However, extremely maneuverable. There is absolutely no binding because of how this is cut right in here. You also have, for novelty purposes, a removable or adjustable collar comfort liner right here. If we swing this thing around, we have, use the camera angle for a second. Again, rock solid spine protector here. We still have good wrapping plastic right here. Medium density foam into rock solid kidney protectors right here that do a perfect wrap, and you don't have to worry about any interferences with the top of your pants in the back of this. Additionally, you have the ability to Velcro on additional back protection if you want to. I never do this, it's unnecessary, but you could if you wanted to. And you also have that ability to do that on the front of the pad as well, under here, if you want additional belly protection. But I find that kind of stuff usually just encumbers movement and stuff. So again, when we talk about sizing, this is a size large pad, but you're going to see these either come and say the word large on the tag, or they're going to say something like 4, 5, or 6 being large. Just be aware of that. Here's also a little bit of a fit difference between these pads, just pro stock shoulder pads in general. I wear typically a extra large shoulder pad when we're talking about like retail pads. In the pro stock world, I wear large. And that would be for Jofa pads, Reebok pads, that sort of thing. And also some of their Bauer Pro Stock. But, obviously if you're looking at some different brand like Warrior or something, you better check the fit and make sure it works for you. But from a price standpoint, I want to say I paid about $60 for these. And these are far more durable than anything else you're going to find at the retail level. I recently purchased a pair of the Bauer Vapor, I want to say maybe the Hyperlight shoulder pads, and I used them in one game and they were just garbage. And those were almost $200, I think. And just garbage for fit, comfortable. They hung up on everything and they had no protection, but they were light. So, anyways, these are definitely a little bit heavier, a little bit bulkier. And I understand if that's not what you're looking for. But they're not that heavy and they're not that bulky. So it's just something to keep in mind. Okay, let's get on to the pants and then we'll go into the final thoughts. Okay, so this should be the best comparison yet, because on the left, we have a retail pair of Bauer Nexus pants, and on the right, we have a pro stock pair of Bauer Nexus pants. So what are the differences? They pretty much look the same. You know, we have this fancy design. We have this, oh, wait a minute. That's just design. That's not actual padding like that one. And by the way, I wish they still made the Nexus pant at the retail level. It was the best pant out there, in my opinion, unless you have a very slim frame. But if you are a tall, strong person, maybe the Nexus would have been a good fit for you. The Super Tacs that are out there nowadays and the Supreme pants just aren't cutting it, unfortunately. But I digress. So I can tell you one thing. So these were the top end Nexus pants at the time. You can see how it's good coverage, a little soft. On here, rock solid, not moving. I mean, they're hinged to move, but the actual plastic inserts and foam, much more dense than this. Spine guard, this is actually pretty good. I'm talking trash about it, but it is pretty good. Nothing like this. This could actually protect you from a real cross check, which you inevitably will get playing Adult Rec Hockey League. We get into the hip protection in here, and I know I'm just mostly describing this stuff to you. It's a little flexible, but pretty good compared to most retail pads. And this one, you can even barely get to it because the material of the padding is so much higher end. Yeah, and that one's rock solid in the hips. So if you got any hip injuries, Pro Stock is the one you want to go with. And then when you look at the thigh pads, can't move these at all. They're perfectly segmented. They got shells of plastic back here that move with your body as you skate. On this pad and the Nexus, actually pretty darn good as well, but not as rigid. It still has that flexible plate. This one's actually almost as good as the Pro Stock one. Looking at the tailbone protector in the Nexus pad, it's segmented. I know this is totally like mom camera angle, sorry about that. This is mostly description time though. So this one is pretty rigid, but still a little soft, but it is flexible. And then going into the tailbone protector in this one, rock solid, but also segmented. So a similar design, just like higher end by far. And just kind of finishing up on the interior of the pants, you know, they're very similar. There's not a whole lot of difference that I can tell in the two pants, retail to Pro Stock. Again, price point, when we got these, when they were new, $150, I think. And then these I got for, I want to say $70 on Sideline Swap. The only thing that I would say about buying Pro Stock equipment is that when it comes to things like pants and even gloves, you don't always have that option to just get a solid black. You know, just because most of these Pro Stock pieces of equipment are designed for some team, either a school, pro, like this is from an NCAA team. So this was just their colors that they have. You weren't going to just get black. But, you know, they are out there. I have seen a couple. I mean, you can always go with an old pair of Colorado Avalanche pants when they still had the black color. Flyers, if you're okay with the orange writing on the back of them. There's different ways you could go with this. But at the end of the day, we have a top-end retail pant of its time, the Nexus, against a standard and currently used Pro Stock Nexus pant, and highly, this is a way better pant. That's all I can say. So even though I'm kind of talking about equipment that may not be sold anymore at the retail level, like these Bauer Nexus pants, just go pretend that you're looking at a CCM AS5 Pro Super Tack pant or a Bauer Vapor pant. That's what this is what those pants are going to look like in just a couple of years against these Pro Stock pants. This is going to last. This happened to have lasted, but these other pants that are out there nowadays are just not going to work. They're going to be not going to last you as long as you want them to last. They're not the same material. So with all that said, I hope this has been helpful, but let's get into the final thoughts. Okay, so to wrap things up, the things that you need to keep in mind is that even if you're buying the top-end retail hockey equipment, it is not going to be nearly as durable as buying Pro Stock equipment. On the flip side of that, you are going to generally get lighter weight equipment if you want to go with the retail stuff, because lightweight is all the rage. It's just kind of like trying to say that a low kick point stick is guaranteed to get you 10 goals a game just because quick release is the wave of the future. It doesn't necessarily mean that, right? So retail equals lower quality but lighter weight. And a higher cost, by the way. So if you're willing, and then if you look at the Pro Stock equipment, it's going to be much more durable. If you're looking for equipment that's going to last you for years, then you're going to want to look at Pro Stock equipment. It's also going to provide you with better protection generally too. The negatives about Pro Stock equipment is that sometimes it can be difficult to find. If you are looking to buy it brand spanking new, you probably will pay an arm and a leg for it. But there's really no need to do that unless you just want to for whatever reason. You need to be conscious of the slightly different fitting of the like when I was mentioning that the shin pads are usually in half sizes. So if you wear a 15-inch retail pad, you're probably going to want to go with a 14 Pro Stock because it fits kind of like a 14.5-inch pad. It's very weird. So those are things to keep in mind. The other thing is like when you buy a Pro Stock a piece of equipment, it's hard to find it again if you like it, and in the event that you do lose it or wear it out. So that is something to be conscious of. So also, we didn't talk about sticks or skates in this video. And what I'll say about this is, if you've watched any of my previous videos, I'm not a huge fan of Pro Stock sticks because they're hard to replicate. They're usually fairly low durability, even for the $100 to $150 price point. And so I'm not a huge fan of those, and they're usually really stiff for the average adult rec player too. And then Pro Stock skates. Those are higher quality skates. You can reproduce the quality and the durability by asking for a Pro Stock skate when you go to get fitted and you want to buy your next pair. The only problem with that is just at a real high level, you have a middleman who's sizing you, middle person, excuse me, who's sizing your foot. Whereas a pro player is going to actually meet up with the manufacturer one-on-one and get fit for multiple pairs of skates. There is no middleman. There's no going to Pure Hockey. There's no going to the hockey shop, Source for Sports, that kind of stuff. It's just the player going straight to the manufacturer to ensure a perfect fit. So that perfect fit, when you go custom skates, is not necessarily going to work out every time. In fact, I've only ever had it work out once the first time. So something to consider. Anyways, that's what I wanted to share with everybody today. And for the type of player that's going to be wanting this Pro Stock equipment, it's going to be somebody who wants longevity out of their equipment, plus a little bit of more protection, and not so concerned about weight. And then the person who isn't going to want the Pro Stock equipment is just somebody that's really hyper focused on having the newest, latest, and greatest equipment, having really lightweight stuff, or maybe just doesn't care if their equipment's going to last or not. So with that said, hope you got some use out of this video. Definitely shoot me a comment with some questions if you have any, and we'll catch you on the flip side.